Hey everybody, welcome to another exciting episode of NC-17. My name is Josh, and today we have with us an extraordinary actor, amongst other things, and his name is Steve Livengood. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, brother.
Oh yeah. Looks like you had a busy day today.
Yes, the fun never stops. It's going to be a loaded evening as well. So,
Oh yeah. Uh, so before we get into the film and just all the entertainment, kind of let's take it back a little bit. As a child, was horror always a genre you were into, and was movies what you wanted to do, or did you have a different plan in life?
it was so crazy because it all kind of happened at the same time. So, here I am, 8 years old, and my mother introduces me to the original John Carpenter's Halloween. And from there, I discovered Michael Myers and instantly just fell in love with the idea of this mysterious, silent character that is just a force of evil, something so dark that it, instills fear into people. And I just instantly fell in love with the genre. Um, from there, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Exorcist, into Friday the 13th series, and all the great, slashers, the heyday of horror, as I like to call it in the 80s. But I was also a huge fan of the Universal monsters. So once I discovered all those old black and whites, I got even more captivated. Anything from Bela Lugosi to, Wolfman, Lon Chaney Jr. and Lon Chaney Sr. Um, I loved their different facial expressions, how they could just, even though they didn't have that much at their disposal back in those days, they could still scare the hell out of you. And of course, I always loved Halloween, because, get candy and you get to dress up and be what you want to be. But at the same time, my dad introduced me to Black Sabbath. The first time I ever heard Iron Man, I said, the drums just, I don't know, the drums on that song just gripped me. I instantly felt the rhythm and it was powerful. And I said, well, shit, I want to do that too. So
Oh,
if I wasn't practicing drums, I was practicing my monster movements and um, you know, dialogue that I would pick up from like Freddy or some of the maniacal horror characters.
oh yeah. So pretty much since 8 years old, it's pretty safe to say that the like heavy metal, death metal, metalcore, and horror all just kind of drove you directly where you wanted to be in life.
Absolutely. Uh, it opened me up creatively. Obviously doing different makeups and stuff like that. My favorites were, vampires, werewolves, Frankenstein. It was always one of my most favorite monster characters. So I was like, I always wanted to do creature acting. And luckily enough, when I started acting 3 years ago, that was my first role. It wasn't Frankenstein, but I was a zombie. So, being a zombie fan, Return of the Living Dead, Night of the Living Dead, that whole franchise, I was all about
Uh,
it.
Speaking of Return of the Living Dead, that happens, in my opinion, that's the zombie movie that's like the end all be all. Everyone else is like Dawn of the Dead. Excellent movie. I love it too. And for me, it's like the mixture of the satire, the gore, the horror, and just the music. Everything kind of
Oh, it
it.
was so punk rock.
Yes, yes.
I loved that aspect to it.
Oh yeah.
And it was
Uh,
also the first time it was, Dawn of the Dead, fantastic film. It was serious. Return of the Living Dead was a little bit more fun because they could make you laugh your ass off.
oh yeah. Also, Return of the Living Dead also mentioned, not mentioned, but broke ground because I think it was the first talking zombie.
That's right.
So and yeah, that's. I mean, I like that movie so much that I actually know that there's a work print that never been made. Like they never filmed the scenes. I was like, okay, yeah.
Damn.
But but so getting into acting and like being cast in your first role as a zombie and just like living out your childhood dream as an adult now, what was that first like onset feeling?
I mean, I was a little nervous at first, but once I got there, I felt like I was at home. Like this is where I could have been for a long time, because I've come into acting late in life after, doing about a 35 year career as a professional drummer. Um, and then retiring from that and wanting to take the next step, the next leap. And this was the most logical. So um, as soon as the makeup started coming on, it's almost like I feel a transformation. It's the same thing when I do my Reaper character that I've had for the last 10 years. I feel like I'm transforming. I become that entity, that force of evil, or a flesh-eating zombie.
Oh yeah.
And everyone was so cool. I could have never imagined. I've always heard horror stories from other actors like, oh, my first time on set, everybody was just terrible. They were mean, everything was just rough. And I'm like, nope, my experience was amazeballs. Of course, a lot of people knew me from the Reapers Underground podcast.
Yeah.
Prior to that, because I do a lot of interviews, for indie horror on every level. And but Acrostar Productions is just one of the most amazing indie movie making machines out there, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. I actually share that opinion with you. uh so now that you're kind of like in the full thick of things, filming stuff and
Mhm.
being able to, just live out again your childhood dreams and everything like that. When exactly did it click for you that no matter what, this is what you're going to do? Was it a certain film? Was it drumming? Or was it just a moment in life where you were like, yep, I've made it and I'm staying?
Actually, it was shortly after doing that first film. Like I was like, my experience was so good um, that I wanted more. And I wanted to prove myself that I can, be a creature type actor, but I can also character act. I can also, deliver lines. Um, you know, Bruce Campbell, one of my all-time biggest influences, Sid Haig, of course. Everybody always confuses me with Captain Spaulding. I think it's because I'm bald, honestly, because my makeup does not resemble his at all. But I actually cosplayed it one year, and everyone was like night and day, mannerisms and everything. Well, that's because I've studied these guys.
Oh yeah.
That's my only regret is I didn't get to meet him. But I really kind of felt like I arrived as far as being an actor when I started doing conventions as an actor. Um, and also to promote my podcast, but everyone's like, well, you were that zombie in Attack of the Corn Zombies. I was like, if I stood out to you, then that means I did a good job.
Exactly. uh Attack of the Corn Zombies was, to me, that was an excellent movie. Like all around, like everyone did a good job. And I'm not just saying that because you're here and I've interviewed,
Obviously.
you know. But the thing about it is with that movie, they made it so atmospheric because it was kind of dirty and grimy, but on the same hand, a family oriented movie because you had
Hmm.
different families. You had the brother sister, you had the mother daughter daughter, but the real like thing that made that movie really good was one, everyone who played a zombie to a T.
Hmm.
And then two, everyone who acted in that movie that had speaking roles nailed every role, you
Oh,
know.
they were fantastic.
Yeah. But let's talk about your character Reaper. All right. So when you were coming up with the idea for the character, what
Hmm.
was your what was the first thought that came to your mind when you were like, you know what, this is what I want to do. So how did you come up with the character?
Well, like I said, it was originally born on stage as a drummer. I had joined a death metal deathcore band called Twisted Asylum. and all of the band members had names already. Like they've been through a bunch of drummers. I was like one of the last ones to come in. Um, and they're like, well, you got to pick a character name. I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, I'm known as Psycho. He's known as Schizo, and so on and so forth. And I was like, well, shit. Let me think about it. As a drummer, what can I convey? Because obviously, Slipknot's drummer is legendary. They know him as that drummer. So I was like, well, I'm always kind of like feeling like I'm riding that fine line of life and death. So when I'm playing, I feel like I'm slaying the crowd with my grooves and my power.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, yeah, Reaper. I think that works best because, I pretty much kill the crowd every night.
Oh yeah.
And it just kind of stuck. And it just kind of followed me throughout different bands. It's like my government name went away. Everyone would just call me Reaper and never call me Steve. And I was fine with that. I'm like, cool. Hey, had something cool and unique, I thought. But when I started podcasting and I wanted to kind of bring to the Facebook and YouTube the art of the horror host, because as a kid I always watched Super Host and Son of Ghoul, Ghoulardi, those guys, Wolfman Jack. He was a little bit on the lighter side, but still, um, you know, they influenced me as like if I'm going to do a podcast, I want to do that kind of thing. Even though I know I cannot show films, but I can bring actors, actresses, directors, writers, score writers and shit, and give them a platform to get their art out to the world that people otherwise wouldn't really know. And I found that in indie film. It's like here in the Midwest, people know acro stars and a few directors all the way down to Texas, but on the East Coast they don't really know so much about, well, who's acro stars. It's kind of sectional between the different parts of the US. Um and I was like, well, my wife says to me, you know I do the modeling thing, you could do the modeling thing too. So she started getting me doing that, and then suddenly directors were looking at the horror pictures that I was doing photography sessions. They're like, this guy's creepy. He's big, he's 6'2", he's bald, menacing. So it started getting me attention. So I'm like, well, shit, Reaper's becoming more than just a podcast guy. He's becoming his own thing. And between my occult spiritual stuff, I obviously wanted it to represent a different side of me, because I'm actually, as you can see, a very nice guy. But I can also flip that switch in like 2 seconds and be a serial killer.
Yeah.
Uh, so I kind of have I wanted to kind of blend the clown aspect, but make it more demonic. And I that's why I call myself a demon clown. I got a little backstory and everything for him.
Oh yeah. Uh, so with everything that has happened thus far, and 3 years into film, relatively still
Mhm.
new, but kind of like you're firmly in through the door. But
Yes.
is there a certain project that you would love to work on that you haven't worked on yet?
Oh man, the one that I'm like so wanting to do, and I don't even care if I had a little bit part at this point, would be the Apex Predator Club that Jason Horton is and the Mahal brothers are doing. That's kind of like to me the upper echelon, like that level of indie film where their budgets are way bigger. Don't get me wrong, I love my micro budget indie horror films because people love them. No matter if they're like so silly, they're stupid, but they're awesome. you know.
Oh
But that's one that I would love to get on with, and especially with one of my new good friends, Robert Lasardo.
yeah.
Um,
I
yeah,
actually
he's
just
always
read.
been.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go right ahead.
I actually just reached out to him about 30 minutes before the show to see if he'd come on the show. Still waiting for a
Oh,
response
nice.
from him.
He's the nicest guy in the world. He's another one of those guys that, you look at him, you think he's just this cold-hearted guy, and he's not. He's a total sweetheart, and I'm just a big old teddy bear.
Oh yeah.
I don't look like it at the moment, but
Hey, you know what? I mean, teddy bears. I mean, they got those scary terries. You know what I'm saying?
that's right.
You know. Uh. So.
Him and I actually do a show together. We're doing a podcast again Friday night called Divine Madness.
Oh yeah.
So,
Oh,
mhm.
gonna watch that one.
No, I
uh.
think you'll love it.
Oh
It's
yeah.
different.
So speaking of like the podcast world and everything like that, I mean, I could probably use a little bit of advice myself because not even probably, I
You're
know.
doing awesome. You're
Uh,
doing awesome.
so I've been doing this for 2 years, so I'm still relatively new to
Nice.
this, you know,
Hmm.
and it really didn't start taking off until, I'm not even gonna lie, maybe kind of like last year a little bit, but the lately since the 15th of last month, the independent world has been so kind in allowing me to,
Absolutely.
talk to them. And so now that, you're on a show and you're part of the independent, family, that's what I call you guys, the independent family,
It is exactly what we are. One big family.
Oh yeah. Horror being the genre, of course,
Hmm.
but is there anything that outside of horror that you would like to work with at one point?
I am very interested, and I said this when I started acting 3 years ago, was I'm a huge fan of mob movies. I feel like I would be a great mafia, enforcer. Um, any type of like crime drama like that, I would like to do. I'm definitely not a rom-com guy. Sorry, you ain't gonna see me do it.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to turn down a role. I mean, if it's going to be good, but that's not my thing. I've always loved action film. I mean, growing up with Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Kurt Russell, especially, I always loved him. I always felt like he was the underdog.
Oh
Good
yeah.
old Snake Plissken.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't mind doing sci-fi either. Because when I saw the remake of The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, I was blown the fuck away. Alien, I could get into that. Predator, oh, unholy shit. I mean, just amazing film. So I would like to be able to expand, just being the cold-hearted killer. I would like to do something on the supernatural end of things too. I finally got my shot a little bit with the film Grind, in which I play a 9 foot costume demon that one of the main cast members turns into.
Oh, okay.
Just it was a never had a full creature suit before, and it was one of my most favorite experiences as far as creature acting.
Oh yeah. Uh so would you say that where you are right now is like you've envisioned this and you're exactly where you want to be, or are you 2 steps ahead or 2 steps behind?
I'd like to say I'm somewhere in the middle. Um, you know, if you're not progressing, then you're becoming stagnant. So I feel like I'm at a very good point because I'm on a constant episodic TV show called the Red Huntress series. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, oh, we promote like constantly, and my character in that, Xander, Smith, yeah, Xander Smith. I didn't think people would actually dig my character as they do. And it's nice to see people get excited about that. People so far, I mean, I've gotten the most compliments as a a speaking role, that people think that that is one of the best representations of what I can bring. I play a mystic kind of like crazy guy that helps the Red Huntress to fight the forces of darkness.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
kind of fun because I almost feel like I'm playing myself a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But no, I could always, there's more I want to do, and that I know I can. It's just honestly just knocking the doors down. And that's how I did it. I mean, I didn't have an agent or nothing. I just kept annoying people until they took notice, and actually said something to me. I mean, I have an agent now with Moonless Media, which is Wayne Burdett Jr. And then he just made me executive vice president of Red Moon Entertainment, which is the horror division of his production company. So now
Okay.
it's like I actually get to help behind the scenes as well as be able to act.
All right. Actually, that brings up a very good question. So you have a musical background, you
Mhm.
have filming experiences, and now you're
Yes.
able to help behind the scenes. Is there certain like bands or like musicians that you're like, okay, maybe this song would be good for this scene or for this movie, and if you can make that happen, is there like just one particular person that you've always had in mind?
Um, I wouldn't say exactly person per se, like a band, because I interview so many independent bands all over the world. I feel like I have this big melting pot of, hey, I know that that song that really gripped me, that I brought them on the show to interview, would be great for this. Um, so yeah, I would say I have many bands in mind. Um, Especially, certain types of horror. You're not going to throw death metal at it. You're not going to throw black metal at it because I mean it's just really, really extreme. So I tend to pull a lot of doom metal bands.
Okay. As So speaking of like, being able to help behind the scenes and everything like that, are there ever
Mhm.
times and moments to where it's like you see a brand new person who's just now filming their first scene and you kind of take them under your wing and be like, hey, if you need assistance or something, just kind of, I'll help you if you can.
I try to do that on every set. I mean, I'm still learning myself, but if I'm doing, like when we did Return of the Corn Zombies, if there's some new people there, I definitely have done that. Um, as far as helping them to really get into the zombie mode and what looks good, and you know, just try to pass on as much, tutelage as I can. Because being in entertainment for this long, I'm gonna be 49 this year, so I feel like I have something that I can pass on. I've had people, say, you have this following. I don't have a following. And I'm like, well, if you're comfortable, you don't have to have a gimmick to get a following. You just have to be very present. You have to have a little bit of a marketing mind. Um, and I feel like my marketing mind came from my years in the independent band circuit, because before the internet had the Facebook and the Instagram, I mean we were tacking posters on telephone poles and flyering people's cars to get the word out. Now it's like, shoot, we can just put it over the internet and reach so many more people.
Oh yeah.
So that's what I also try to do. I'm like, market yourself.
Oh yeah. Speaking of marketing, and I've never asked anyone this question, so I might add it in every now and then. Uh,
Nice.
Action figures. Do you ever see yourself having your own action figure, or do you already?
Um, there was a limited run, I want to say 2 years ago, that I was able to design a pop vinyl of myself. Um, but the cost of it was too expensive, and it was, too hard to get people to, want to buy it. Everybody wanted it. So I mean, if I've had art that's been made for me by fans. This one here is my favorite.
Oh,
It's
that's awesome.
vinyl art where they took a record and um, used my logo and everything. I've had people do drawings of me. I'm on T-shirts. So if a figure does come around, like if I could be like the Crimson Ghost one day, I would love to be, something that would be cool, especially
Uh,
with like 3D printers nowadays. That'd be pretty sweet.
Oh yeah. Uh, so you have some definite, like really big stuff coming up, but there's one that really stands out because I guess it's going to be filmed here in Michigan. Stoner Snake.
Nice. Yes, sir. Ha ha.
Yeah,
I was glad and very, very happy to jump on that.
yeah. That
Um,
believe it or not, they actually asked me if I wanted to come up and be part of it, but I time constraints and stuff. So
oh shit, gotcha.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm doing it remote.
yeah,
Because all these films have a budget.
yeah.
So, and being overextended like that, I completely understand that. And I was like, you know what? I believed in this project from the very beginning. When I saw that poster, and this happens to me a lot. It's like when somebody puts up poster art for a film, I'm like, damn, that really grabbed me, and I feel like I should be a part of it. And I was talking to Daryl, and I said, "What can I do for you?" Because my wife was supposed to be in it as well, and she wasn't able to. So he's like, "Well, I already paid for that. Can you fill this for me? I'll write you a scene for yourself." I'm like, "Sure. What the fuck do you want? Do you want me? Do you want regular, Steve Livengood, or do you want Reaper?" And he's like, "I want Reaper." And I was like, "Okay, well, I have an idea. What do you think?" And of course, it involves, smoking a blunt. So I came up with something cosmically silly, and he liked it, which is what I've been working on today. I've been working on that.
Oh, all
Um,
right.
and of course, well, I don't want to give too much away, but I give it a good go.
Oh yeah. uh, you also here's another one that's standing out, and I don't know
Hmm.
why. Maybe because it's not horror, but SWAT at the end of this protocol.
Yeah, where I get to be a SWAT sergeant. I am looking forward to that so much because in the movie Death Bike, it's probably the most well, there's one other film, which I'll get to that. But I got to play a police chief. So nothing horror about what I'm doing in Death Bite. I'm just this big old asshole. I'm like the fraternity guy with, the two uh silly detectives, and I'm always backing them up. And opposite the female officer. And I had just a blast doing it. No one would ever think to see me, yeah, as that wearing a 10-gallon hat. We're in Texas. So, it's totally out of character for me, but I fucking loved it. I mean, shoot, Walker Texas Ranger. I watched all the Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns. They were my favorites, still are. I was like, I can do this and have that attitude. So now I get to be a little bit more tactical. So that's another Moonless Media production um, that he thought I would be good for. So, and I'm not, the lead in that or anything. I'm a supporting character. I can't wait to do it. South Carolina, I'm telling you, we're gonna light this bitch on fire.
Oh yeah. Uh, so speaking of, like the your wife and you modeling and kind of doing stuff, do you guys find it easier to kind of like be on the same sets and then, like it's like, okay, cool, we love each other, we're gonna do this together, and this is now something you guys can do together. I mean, is that like a mutual feeling? And does it ever get stressful on the road when you're both either together or when you're apart?
It's more stressful when we are apart than it is to be together because it's like, oh, cool, we get to like do this together. When I did Attack of the Corn Zombies, she was one of the zombies too. And we just had a fucking blast. It was great. We've been able to work on a few sets together, but her character and all the stuff she does is, very much just her. So it's always been kind of separate in that way, but when we actually do get a chance to do it together, it's actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
you know.
So advice for anybody trying to get into the industry? What advice would you give to somebody in any facet, whether it be music, directing, acting, writing, whichever?
First thing I would say is don't give up. Do not give up.
Oh yeah,
You just have to keep pushing through until somebody says yes. It doesn't matter how many thank you for your time that you get. Don't let that discourage you. Personally, I think one of the easiest ways to get into indie film is be an extra.
oh yeah,
Extra work, there is no shame in that game because that puts you on a set. People are seeing you, directors, producers, all that stuff. They're seeing what you're doing. And don't be afraid to give ideas like, hey, what if can I try this or can I try that? One thing I've learned about indie film is that a lot of directors are like very approachable when it comes to that. I mean, at first, they want what they have on the script. But at the same token, if you can bring something that would only enhance the scene, that makes you stand out like a motherfucker. So I would start there. Definitely go to all of the indie horror film actor like Facebook groups because there's casting calls all day long on all of them. And you just keep looking through, and whatever jumps out at you, you think you can do that. I can message them, say, hey, this is who I am, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's definitely true that some of the best actors are not trained through schools and the ones that are, it's fantastic, that's great. You dedicated that time and it shows. But in the world of indie film, personality and being able to work with others and bringing good energy, making everything positive, um that's what is memorable, and that's what people keep wanting to bring you back.
oh yeah. Uh, so with all the stuff you got coming out and everything you've already filmed, was there one thing that you filmed to where you were like, damn, that was better than how I envisioned it?
Uh, definitely, I would say the Red Huntress series and Death Bike, those two projects in particular, was like, yeah, I'm surprised that I like became that character and brought something different to the table. Whether I'm making you laugh or I'm making you terrified.
Oh yeah. Uh, Also hitting the convention scenes because here in Michigan I do as many conventions as I can.
Oh
Mostly I
yeah,
go as a fan. But
right.
like it's also a good way to promote. So when you have like when you're at conventions, you have fans coming up to you and they're asking about your projects or they're asking you, like, well, what's your character? And you go to explain it. I mean, what kind of feeling does that give you?
Oh, the fact that there's so many people that come to these conventions that they're like, oh, I'll always support indie film. I love that shit. There are so many people that love the indie horror versus the mainstream horror. I mean, sure, you have the icons, you have Art the Clown. Art the Clown is the most, visible, most popular, character next to Ghostface just in the last, let's say, 20 years. Um, but it's so refreshing. It's like, yeah, I'm here, supporting my new film that just came out, and they're like, oh fuck yeah, sign me up, man. And you do free selfies and stuff, and you autograph them. It's like I don't have to pay $100 for this. This is awesome.
Oh yeah,
You know, uh, they get to see that you're just like them, and they always wish you well, and it's nothing like horror fans,
oh yeah,
especially being at cons where you have bigger celebrities that are there. Here I am at my little table, and I'm just trying to connect. And then for some folks to actually say, "Yeah, I saw that, man. You were awesome," or especially with the Red Hunter series being on YouTube and now it's going to be on Tubi, thank goodness. That's only going to get us out there even further. Um, people really like that because they miss shows like um Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Supernatural. I feel like it's a blend of the two together. And it's also a period piece. It's early 1900s, late 1800s. So we give you that as well. So that's what makes it all worthwhile. It's like people get excited about it. They don't know you from Adam, you know? They're like, wow, thank you for being here. And I'm just like, well, shit, I'll keep coming back.
Oh yeah. Uh, it's funny you say that about like the celebrity caliber of people that are at conventions because you have your Bruce Campbells, you have your Linda Blairs, and everything like that.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
This brings me back to an instance of like me and my wife. So she's a big Princess Bride fan, and
Mm.
so at one of the conventions they had Carrie Elways, and she's like, "Well, I want to go
Oh,
meet him."
wow.
So I was like, all right, we'll go meet him, but I'm gonna go meet Ross Marquand from Walking Dead, you know? And
Right.
so she's like, well, I'm gonna go meet him. You go meet him. I was like, well, that's not fair. And then I went over there and saw how much his was. I was like, yeah, I'm going back over here. It's not about to me, it's not about the price. It's about am I really invested in the character? You know?
Correct. Yes.
And see, like, although The Princess Bride is a good movie,
Yeah.
Saul was better. So if I'm going to get his autograph, I'm getting it for Saul.
Mhm.
But I've always been a Walking Dead fan because zombies is my favorite genre. So I was like, Ross Marquand is always going to be, you could put okay, not anybody. There's certain people that I'm like, okay, look, I gotta go meet this person. But but to kind of piggyback off what you said, is like me being a fan, when we come to these conventions and we see you dressed up in character, it's an instant draw. And then when we come over there, hey, you got 4 or 5 movies. I'm like, well, if you're dressed like this, your movies is either going to be batshit crazy, which is a good thing, or it's going to be really blood and gory, which is also a good thing. So being in character just draws people in, and for that, anytime that like I'm sure anytime people see you, they're like, oh damn, this is gonna be a kick-ass rock star over here. I need to go meet him. Uh, sorry, I went on a tyrant. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Totally fine. Oh, I totally get what you're saying. I do. I show up in full Reaper mode every time. I have different outfits for different days because usually a lot of these conventions are 3 days long.
Yeah.
So I try to bring it every day, and you're right. It is very much a draw because they're walking down the aisles and they're seeing all the t-shirts and the figures and you get all kinds of vendors, different vendors at these things. And hmm, they're like, what is that? Let's go see. And then there's some, I mean, kids come up to me all the time and I just absolutely love it. Like little 9-year-olds, 7-year-olds and stuff. I'm just like, and they're like, "Ah," but they're excited. So yeah, it definitely draws them in that way, and then they get to find out what my world is like. And 9 times out of 10, there's something that they either they want to check out my podcast, they support by buying a film. It's not very expensive, and I'm always so appreciative because I'm like, I'm just this guy in fucking makeup and looking evil. Um, and you're making me feel like I'm something more, and that's the payoff. If you're looking to get rich off indie film, it's not going to happen. But you could definitely, keep trying and taking different roles and stuff and building your reel. And then who knows? You send it off to a bigger, director or production company. You never know what might happen. Personally, I feel like movies like Killer Cox, that one always gets people because they're like, oh, you do porn. No, I do not. I do not do that. It's about killer mutant chickens. I'm always like, have you ever seen the movie Critters? obviously you've seen, gremlins and stuff like that. Well, this is mutant chickens and they're killing people. And luckily, James Carnes was like, I want your character to battle the head chicken. And it was definitely one of the most fun experiences I've ever had on film, especially just playing my character. I kind of had free reign with it, and that's always kind of cool because I'm good at improving.
Oh yeah. Speaking of critters, Leonardo DiCaprio's first movie was Critters 3.
Hmm.
And a lot of people don't realize that, but also Angela Bassett's first movie was Leprechaun 4.
Yep.
And that just goes to show how much of a horror fan I am, because I got Critters 3, which not the best, but not worse, or Titanic. I think I'm gonna choose Critters 3 all day long. You know,
Yes.
not taking away anything from Titanic, but still, I mean that door was big enough for both of them, but whatever.
Right.
you know,
Yeah, I mean, shoot, Jennifer Aniston was in Leprechaun 1.
yep. Oh yeah.
Kevin Bacon, Friday the 13th, the first
Yes.
one.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's like so many people made their career starting in horror, even if they never came back to it.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I mean? But I think there's just something special about the genre because everybody always loves scary movies.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, except
So,
for my wife. My wife refuses to watch them.
no kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, she don't refuse to watch them, but in order for her to watch one, I have to watch one of her movies. Which,
I mean, that's fair.
yeah, it's fair, but nine
That's
times out
very
of ten,
fair.
she's like, "Wake up," But the thing about like indie film and you guys as actors and directors and writers, you believe in the characters you are, and you're doing it because you love to do it. You
It's
know,
definitely for the passion. And I think that's what mainstream horror is missing. They're not passionate about their characters. They don't really come across like I am so invested in this. The only there's one character that I would say that is, and that was definitely the first couple of Insidious films.
yes,
Um, I feel like he was very invested, the father,
yeah,
in that character because it shows. And I think when they did Insidious, they didn't think it was going to become what it did. Who knew it would turn into a franchise, you know?
yeah.
And that's when you see that. But then later on in the sequels, you start to see less and less and less of that original passion that really came to the character.
Oh yeah. Uh, I agree. Like 1 and 2, good. After 2, you kind of lost me. You know.
Hmm.
But we're
Definitely.
we're nearing the end of our time. I do want to give you the floor to plug all your socials where people can see your movies and your shows, and if you want them reaching out to you, the floor is yours, my friend.
Oh, thank you. Definitely, I am the most approachable person in the world. Obviously, I'm Steve Livengood on Facebook. Don't be afraid to friend request me. I'm good at picking out the people that are like shouldn't be there. But definitely, you can find me on Reapers Underground on Facebook. That's where all the podcast stuff goes, my modeling stuff, anything that I'm working on creatively. Black Flame Entertainment, which is kind of the hub that's over the four different podcast shows I do, because they're all different, and they're all fun. I do anything from metal to interviews to horror, and a variety show to make you laugh your ass off on Saturday nights. Uh, Same on Instagram, Reapers Underground, Black Flame Entertainment. I also have a YouTube channel, Reapers Underground. Go figure. You can find a lot of some of my past work, especially my old band stuff. But you can also catch any of the podcasts that we do there. As a matter of fact, I just uploaded a video for Creep Footage 4, in which my character, the caretaker, has come back for this next installment. Um, and any kind of advertisements. There we go. Go on there as well. So yeah, just hit me up on any of the things. I'm even on TikTok. I do stuff there as well.
That seems to be like TikTok seems to be a destination for everybody. You know,
Eh, yeah.
I mean,
It's
it's
one of
more.
those necessary evils, I
Yes.
think, in this dynamic.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm not going to call you by your government name. I'm going to call you Reaper.
It's fine.
I want to thank you for coming on, and
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
all right. You're more than welcome on this show anytime. I tell everybody once you've been on one time, you have a home with NC-17. You want to come on promote something, you want to come on just to kick it, or even if to say, hey, you got a booger in your nose. It's what you want to do. I clean it out every day though, but
Well, that's good because
oh
that
yeah,
would probably get agitating.
yes. But I'm actually going to give the floor to you to go ahead and close out the show in any way, shape, or form you like.
Everything starts with a dream. Uh, it's a thought, and thoughts become actions, and then you start to manifest what it is you want to do. Um, there's so many people out there that are going to tell you, "What are you, stupid? You're an adult. Why would you do this?" You think you're going to go make it big. You're going to, either you move to, let's say, LA or something like that. Um, if they and they're telling you that you're crazy for wanting to do it. But at the end of the day, if that's what drives you, if it's your passion, there's nothing that can stop you from doing what you want to do. Um, no risk, no reward. So you may fail 1,000 times, but you might succeed about 5 to 10 times, and those make it worth everything. And if you believe in yourself, others are going to pick up on that, and that's what makes you dynamic. So don't ever give up on what you want to try to achieve.
All right.
Absolutely. One
Well,
foot in the fire and one on the ground. Always.
oh yeah. My clumsy ass, I'll probably fall in the fire, but
Ah,
but I know how to
exactly.
stop, drop, and roll. So, all right, it's been a
Absolutely.
complete honor, my friend, and you've been a true rock star. And again, you're more than welcome here anytime.
I look forward to it. Stay heavy.
There you go. Everybody, stay in C-17 and keep living good.